Every single summer, without fail, I drop somewhere between 10 to 15 pounds of body fat in around 60 days. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I do it. But more importantly, I want to show you why relying on discipline alone is the fastest way to fail when it comes to fat loss. This video is split into 4 clear phases. First, we'll talk about calories and macronutrients and how to think about food in a way that actually makes sense. Then we'll cover training, specifically how to build a lean, defined physique with less than 3 hours per week in the gym. And after that, I'll show you how to handle fat loss plateaus when progress inevitably slows down without adding hours of cardio or burning yourself out. And finally, I'll explain calorie banking, which is how you can still lose fat whilst attending social events, work dinners, family events, weekends away. But before we get into the strategy, I want to break 2 beliefs that stop most men from getting in shape. The first belief is time. Most men think they don't have enough of it. The truth is, the men we work with are some of the busiest people you'll ever meet. They're running companies, managing teams, working incredibly long hours, and raising families. Our approach does not require daily gym sessions, hours of cardio, or living in the kitchen. I personally train 3 days a week for around 45 minutes a session while working 80-hour weeks. And we've helped hundreds of men in similar situations do exactly the same. The second belief is discipline. Men doing very well in their career often believe that if they just try harder, they'll get lean. But discipline without structure is useless. There are men far more disciplined than you and I combined, like Elon Musk, for example, who are still out of shape. Fat loss isn't a carrot the floor, it's a systems problem. And if discipline alone worked, you wouldn't be watching this video. Now let's talk about how fat loss actually works. Your body is essentially an engine. Every day it burns a certain amount of energy just to keep you alive. That baseline number is your metabolism, also known as your basal metabolic rate. A simple way to estimate this is to take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 10. That gives you a rough idea of how many calories you burn resting. But where most people mess up is they try to eat less than this number. And that's not how fat loss works. What actually matters is your total daily energy expenditure. And that includes your metabolism, your daily movement, and your training. To estimate that, you take your metabolic rate and you multiply it by an activity factor. If you're mostly sedentary, that number might be around 1.2. But if you're highly active and work an active physical job, it might be closer to 1.8 or 1.9. But most people fall somewhere around the middle. Once you know that number, fat loss becomes simple. You eat slightly less than that, and over time, your body has no choice but to burn stored fat. And when I'm dieting and cutting for summer, I'll usually create a fairly aggressive deficit. I'll subtract around 600 to 700 calories from my maintenance intake. And that might sound extreme, but in reality, it's often just removing things that don't really add value anyway, like sugary coffees, snacks in the evening, or mindless extra calories that creep in over time. Now let's talk about macronutrients. I want you to think about calories as your budget, and then macros are how you spend that budget. Protein, carbs, and fats all matter, but one matters far more than the others if you want to look lean and athletic. Protein is non-negotiable. If you don't eat enough protein while dieting, your body doesn't just lose fat, it also breaks down muscle. That's why so many people lose weight but still look soft and underwhelming. A simple rule that works extremely well is aiming for around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. So if you weigh around 200 pounds, that's around 200 grams of protein. And that might sound like a lot, but when you break it down, it's really manageable. One protein shake can give you 50 grams of protein, then you're just spreading the rest across a few meals. And once protein is locked in, carbs and fats become more flexible. Some people will feel better on higher carbs and others on higher fats. Personally, I prefer higher carbs around training and slightly lower fats, but the truth is, if your calories and protein are correct, the exact split between your carbs and fats matters far less than people actually think. This is where metabolism comes into play. Men who stay lean year round don't just diet harder, they have a metabolism that works for them, not against them. And that's exactly what we focus on inside our Metabolic Mastery method. Now let's talk about training. If you want to build a lean, defined physique, resistance training is essential. Cardio alone will not do it. Muscle is what gives your body shape, and muscle is what drives a higher metabolic rate. I train 3 times per week for around 45 minutes per session. That is it. Those sessions are focused, intense, and structured. The goal is to stimulate muscle growth, not just burn calories and get a sweat on. I focus heavily on progressive overload, which means getting slightly stronger over time, and that could be from more weight or more reps. I also push sets to the point where the nervous system is challenged, not just the muscle burn that most people stop at. And across the week, each muscle group gets enough volume to grow without unnecessary junk volume or junk work. This is how you build muscle efficiently, even while losing fat. And at some point, progress is going to slow, and this is normal, so don't panic. When fat loss stalls, it's not because you failed, it's because your body is adapted. And when that happens, you have 3 simple options. The first is to slightly reduce calories while keeping protein high. Usually this means trimming carbs or fats. The second option is to increase daily movement. And I don't mean adding hours of cardio, I mean adding 1,000 or 2,000 extra steps per day. And then the third option is to introduce a small amount of low intensity expenditure, often called list cardio. 10 to 15 minutes on a bike or an incline treadmill walk is more than enough. You don't need to do all 3, you just need to adjust one lever at a time. Now, finally, let's talk about weekends and social events, because if you try to eat perfectly 7 days a week, you will probably fail. The solution is to think in weekly calories, not daily ones. If your fat loss target is 2,500 calories per day, that's 17,500 calories per week. And if you know you have a big dinner coming up or a big event coming up, you simply eat slightly less earlier in the week. A small reduction each day gives you the flexibility for when it matters without throwing you off track and derailing progress. And this is called calorie banking. It's the difference between short-term dieting and staying lean for life. Fat loss doesn't require suffering, it just requires structure. And if you build the right system around your lifestyle, you can get lean, stay lean, and still enjoy your life. And if you want more direct one-to-one help with this, feel free to message me the word metabolism on Instagram and I'll point you in the right direction. Or you can just click the link down below this video. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.